Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of HRDC, MMTTC, North Bengal University, I would like to introduce our esteemed speaker, Professor Manju Jaidka. Professor Manju Jaidka is a former professor and chairperson of the Department of English at Punjab University, Chandigarh, has received numerous national and international fellowships, including a Fulbright and two Rockefeller Awards. She has assignments at top universities worldwide and published approximately 30 books in nearly 100 research papers in reputed journals. As a creative writer, she has authored three poetry collections, a play, five novels, and a short story collection. Her nonfiction work on disability management, The Next Milestone, was commissioned by WHO. Recently, she compiled the Routledge Encyclopedia of Indian Writing in English and the Encyclopedic Dictionary of Diasporic Indian English Writing for Springer. She has organized several literature festivals and academic conferences globally, founding MELO, an academic association with international linkages in 1997. Heartfelt gratitude and a very warm welcome to Professor Jedka. Thank you.
Thank you, Debarati. Thank you for the very generous introduction. Is my sound all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And I begin with a few apprehensions because I logged in at 12 sharp. It's 12:35 now. And the conversation was going on in Bengali, which I could not understand. So I would just want to be reassured that the audience today will be familiar with my language, with the language I speak in.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much. Thank you so much. That's such a relief. And secondly, I just wish to make a point that when you're on an online meeting, it is polite to have your cameras on, because then the speaker is communicating with people and not just with blank squares. Yeah? Okay. So thank you very much for having me, and I can see that it's a huge number. Um, I was told that about 100 people have registered for this refresher course, which is really remarkable. Yeah. I know that this is the fag end of your refresher course. One of the etiquettes of online meeting is that you keep yourself muted unless you have to speak. So videos on and speaker muted. Right. Okay. The title that I gave to my that I've given to my talk is From the Realms of Gold to the Labyrinths of Chrome. From the realms of gold to the labyrinths of chrome. The muse and the machine. Perhaps it does give you some idea of what I'm going to talk about. But I'm going to begin with a quotation from Sylvia Plath, her poem, The Colossus. This is how she begins the poem. I shall never get you put together entirely. I shall never get you put together entirely, pieced, glued, and properly jointed. Mule braid, pig grunt, and body cackles proceed from your great lips. It's worse than a barnyard. Why am I beginning with this quotation? Because when I started thinking of this topic and what I would have to say, there was so much that came into my mind, so many different ideas that I really did not know how to put them together again. And I felt like this persona in the poem, The Colossus, who said, I'll never get you put together entirely. I have made an effort, and it will be a more or less freewheeling discussion. But the points that I raised today, I'm sure they will resonate with you. And I expect you to have some idea, some opinion, some observation on the various issues that I speak of today. Now, it is a huge subject that I wish to tackle. and I will try not to exceed the 90 minutes that are given to me. And let's see if I can manage it. All right. Now, this particular talk is not one of the usual academic lectures that teachers love to give, whether or not anyone is listening. Or maybe it is one of those lectures that teachers like to give and students are half asleep. Sometimes they're carrying on their conversation with each other. And especially when you're online, it's so easy to do that. Anyway, well, I feel compelled to talk about a few things, and I hope that the subject that I'm taking up today will strike a chord in you. Perhaps in some forgotten corner of your mind where certain literary echoes still linger. Now, this, I know, is the fag end of your refresher course. And by this time, all of you who were supposed to be refreshed and rejuvenated, I don't know if you're refreshed and rejuvenated, but you are probably exhausted and saturated. And yet, although deliverance is nigh, tomorrow you'll be free. Although deliverance is nigh, it is not just yet. You have to sit through my talk. So have patience, all ye who have entered here, and I promise we will all survive by and by. Okay, so let me go back to my topic. In the realms of gold, from the realms of gold to the labyrinths of chrome, the muse and the machine. What does it mean? What does it mean? Let's see. I have been teaching for quite a while. Actually, it was just less than a year ago that I hung up my boots finally. But I have lived through the evolution of teaching literature from chalkboards to keyboards. And I think I've come to a point when I can pause and reflect, what have we gained? What are we losing? So together with you, let's talk about this. The title that I've taken, I'm sure it's familiar to some of you. It is from Keats's poem on reading Chapman's Homer. And there, he's reading Chapman's translation of Homer, and he says, "Much have I traveled in the realms of gold, and many goodly states and kingdoms seen. Round many western islands I have been, which bards in fealty to Apollo hold." These are the opening lines of Keats's poem on reading Chapman's Homer. It's not really my favorite poem. And incidentally, now that I have such a large audience before me, let me drive home a point which I love to repeat over and over again. When we talk about poetry and when we recite something, it is a poem that we recite and not a poem. So please tell your students when you hear them saying poem that it is not poem, it is poem. All right, so this is not really my favorite poem, but it's a convenient peg on which I can hang my argument. My favorite poems are different. And in my salad days, they were, I'm going to refer to some of the poems now, some of the poems that I was fond of reading and teaching, and I hope you will enjoy listening to them all over again. There was one called Sea Fever by John Masefield. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's one that haunts me. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky. And all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. And the wheels kick and the wind song and the white sails shaking and a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. There's one more stanza which I won't recite now. So this was a poem I loved to read, I loved to repeat, and I taught it also many times. Then there is this other poem which you may be familiar with, Music When Soft Voices Die. Music when soft voices die vibrates in the memory. This is how it begins. And the last two lines are, I'll repeat the first two and the last two. Music when soft voices die vibrates in the memory. And so thy thoughts when thou art gone, love itself shall slumber on. Music when soft voices die. And then there was this ballad, which is still very popular. It's called The Highwayman by Alfred Noyes. The Highwayman. The wind was a torrent of darkness among the gusty trees. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas, and so on. That's how it goes. So this was a poem. It was a narrative poem, which was often enacted on the stage. And well, the students loved it. The teachers loved it. I'm going to refer to a few more poems, and you must be wondering where I'm going, but I hope you're enjoying the brush with poetry all over again. Are you? Are you enjoying this? Are you enjoying this smattering of poetry? Well, thank you. I can see at least one thumbs up. Two, thank you. No, yes, thanks. Got it. Oh, okay. Now, there is another, I'm just reviving some of my favorite poems because that is where I'm going to take off from. Then there is another one which I like very much, and that is from Yeats, W.B. Yeats. He wishes for the cloths of heaven. Had I the heavens embroidered cloths enwrought with golden and silver light, the blue, the dim and the dark cloths of night and light and half light, I would spread the cloths under your feet. I would spread the cloths under your feet. But I, being poor, have only my dreams. I've spread my dreams under your feet. Tread softly, because you tread on my dreams. So this was W.B. Yeats. Yeah, it's a poem that you love to read at a certain stage of life, at a certain age. But then you can always keep that poet, you can always keep that love of poetry alive inside you. And then we have other poems also. We come into the modern age. After Yeats, we come into the modern age, and we have T.S. Eliot with his Wasteland and his J. Alfred Prufrock. J. Alfred Prufrock. Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets. Like a patient ether eyes upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants. These are lines which remain with you when you have read them. Auden. So after Eliot, we come to Auden. And one of his best poems, of course, there are many which are memorable, but one of the poems that I like very much is In Praise of Limestone. In Praise of Limestone. And In Praise of Limestone, if you haven't read it, you must read it. You must read it because it gives you an insight into the psychology of human beings. What he says in this poem is that we choose the landscape in which we like to live according to our temperament. So there are certain temperaments which love to live on the plains, some that love to live in the hills, some by the seashore, and some temperaments like to live in the limestone region, which is actually a mix of all that. So I don't know what kind of landscape you would like to live in, but the intendant Caesars, meaning those who want worldly glory, live in the plains, because in the plains life is easy. It's not arduous like in the mountains or the forests. So life is easy. You can build roads, you can build buildings, and you can strive for worldly success when you are living in the plains. So there is a certain sensibility which is drawn towards the plains. Then towards the mountains, we have those who have an ascetic sensibility, like hermits, like sadhus and rishis. in olden times. They all used to go to the mountains. Their life is difficult, and you are, facing the rigors of nature and all that. So a certain sensibility goes to the mountains, and then those who go to the sea. Auden says that the ones who go to the sea, they are the kind who like to negate life. They are self-destructive. They have a suicidal tendency because the sea seems to call them. Come and drown yourself, forget your sorrows in the depths of the waters. Right? So these are unforgettable poems. And limestone region, the common man, most of us are limestone people. We understand each other. We have the same flaws, same drawbacks, and so on, right? So these are some of the memorable poems that I remember teaching in the first phase of my career. And then they were followed by, the 50s, 1950s and 60s. You have Ted Hughes, you have Sylvia Plath, you have Dylan Thomas. Actually, Dylan Thomas first, and then Ted Hughes and Sylvia Plath. All right. So this was a kind of literature that we taught in classrooms. We used to read the poems and so on. And then came the focus on theory. And when I see my talk is, you will, I don't know if you would appreciate it, but it is based on my experience of teaching from the earliest days to the present. So I want you to keep this in mind. And of course, you have your own experiences also, which you can discuss. Okay. So from that phase came the next phase, which was more based on theory. And this coincided with my move from teaching undergraduates to postgraduates, moving from a college level to the university. So along with theory came critical approaches to literature. Now, critical approaches, the way we knew it then, comprised tools that were relatively easy to understand. We had the historical approach, psychological, sociological, and so on. And then came the formalist, structuralist, new criticism. And at that time, we would stop at new criticism. Deconstruction came afterwards. And then post-colonial approaches, feminism, gender theory, eco-criticism, and so on. So this was the theory fever. And everyone was talking theory and literature, that written text, the poems, like the poems that I read out just now. The written text, which was once read with such joy, that came to be sidelined, and theory or jargon was all important. Right? Then came the internet and Google. And now we have artificial intelligence, we have ChatGPT, and so on. So I have actually seen the teaching of literature go through all these phases. I am a little nostalgic, yes, nostalgic for the old golden days, but like you, I understand that the river of time keeps flowing on, and we must learn to swim with it. And actually, when it comes to technology, I know a little more than other people of my age group. Some of them are even younger than I, but well, that's how it is. And I am sad to see that the pleasures of literature have been lost somewhere because the world has changed. It has become more materialistic. It has become more money oriented. It has become more mechanical. So life has changed, the world has changed, and teaching has changed. We can be nostalgic about it, but we have to face it when we have to come to terms with it. We have to be familiar with what is happening now, and we need to use it to our advantage. Maybe we are losing out something, but then we are gaining something also. And whatever we are gaining, we can use it to look back at literature again and keep it alive. Now, when we look at the so-called recent trends in teaching literary and cultural studies, what are the concepts that are being used now. In the first place, we have interdisciplinarity. Yeah. Earlier, it was just literature, but now everything is interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. So along with literature, we bring in sociology, we bring in media studies, environmental studies, and so much more. Then we have digital humanities. We have the integration of technology. And I'll be talking about a little more about digital humanities in a little while. We have visual and pop culture. Film studies came in, graphic novels came in, advertisements, music, cultural studies, which is being done so much now. And under the banner of cultural studies, everything can come in. So everything comes in under that broad rubric of cultural studies, and literature gets lost somewhere. All right. Now, we now focus more on skill and employability. You know that. You know that in your colleges, in your universities, in your institutions, the focus is more on employability, on skill development, which is a good thing. Teaching critical thinking, communication, digital literacy, that is good. But literature somewhere gets a little sidelined. And literature is used not just for content, but for the skill it cultivates. We are all familiar with it. I don't know how many of you are teachers of literature and language, but even if you are from liberal arts, from humanities, well, you would know, you would understand what I'm talking about. So when we look at the graph of literary studies, perhaps we could begin with what I call the golden age. Once upon a time, golden age, when we used to teach Wordsworth and Keats and Dickinson. It was purely text focused. And we taught it with a heart. We taught it through slow time. It reminds me of the Grecian urn, the bride of quietness, silence, and slow time. So we taught it with slow time. And we used to really relish it. So through all these years and decades that I've been teaching, I've seen the syllabi change. I've seen theories rise and fall, and generations of students reinvent the same kind of rebellious questions over and over again in a new manner. It's like old wine in new bottles, but there are lots of changes which don't go back. But so teaching literature half a century ago was different. It was relatively simple, relaxing, rejuvenating, but things have changed. All right. We used to memorize, and our teachers used to memorize longer poems. If I knew the Highwayman verbatim, and probably I can still recite all of it, but I won't try. Otherwise, we need an extra 90 minutes. All right. So whenever we taught poetry, there was, a hush in the class. There was a rustle of pages, and everyone waited for the poem to be read. They were recited. They were not Googled. We didn't consume content. We read poetry. We felt it. And after that, in the age of theory, when we got to know different theories, we got familiar with Freud and Jung. We heard about the death wish. We heard about Electra complex, Oedipus complex, anima, animus, and so on. Then we were familiarized with Barthes, Roland Barthes, Derrida, Foucault. All that was exhilarating, yes, but it was exasperating also. And then Northrop Frye, archetypes. Archetypes, frankly, it made some sense to me because he sees certain patterns in literature, patterns that occur again and again. So I was more drawn towards Northrop Frye than the others, which I felt they were confusing and also confused. But anyway, let's move on. Then came post-colonial theory, which read everything from a certain lens. From a certain lens that became rather rigid. Feminism, We got familiar with Elaine Showalter, with French feminisms, Anglo-French, then Marxism, eco-criticism. We are still dealing with eco-criticism. And then came, things like concepts like virtual analysis of text, simulacra and simulacrum, and all the rest of it, cultural studies. So all that came into the teaching of literature. And the poem that we once used to read and recite and enjoy was no longer a companion. The poem became like a corpse to be dissected. And each theory became a sort of a scalpel to cut the poem open and to see what was going on. As one poet lamented, we murder to dissect. We murder to dissect. But we have survived all that. We have survived Derrida. And well, if that's not resilience, what else is it? Now, theory is fine, but I want to draw your attention to what Adrienne Rich says. She says, theory, the seeing of patterns, showing the forest as well as the trees. Theory can be a dew that rises from the earth and collects in the rain cloud and returns to the earth over and over. But if it does not smell of the earth, it isn't good for the earth. So theory is fine. But then theory has to relate to the text. And a lot of us scholars and some teachers who were theory-based, who were theory freaks, have been unable to relate their theory to actual literary texts. Sure, you can contradict me if you think I'm wrong, and I would love to have a discussion about that. But this is a fact that a lot of people who are totally into theory are not in touch with literature per se. Okay, now, after the theory phase, we come to the digital and the AI age. And what do we have? We have everything, everywhere, all at once. We have literature not as literature that you're going to read and enjoy. You have literature as content. There's so much content. Take it, download it, use it. So you have ChatGPT, and ChatGPT gives you summaries. It gives you everything in a fast forward manner. And the nuances, the emotional depth of the poem that you used to teach, that you keep looking for it. You won't get it now. But coming back to the use of technology in the teaching of literature and the teaching of literature and cultural studies, we know that it was very useful during those 3 years of COVID. So it was extremely useful then because we were not in touch with each other. We were all in social isolation. And then we kept connected only through artificial intelligence, only through cyberspace, only through all these means of technology, which we feel are taking away our humanity now. So it had its uses then, and it has come to stay. Online classes, you're aware that online classes, we never used to have them earlier. We didn't even know about Zoom. We didn't know about Google Meets. We didn't know about all these platforms. But once they came in, after that, we are now more comfortable with Zoom and Google Meet. I still prefer Zoom to Google Meet, but well, whatever. And a lot of people, even students, prefer online classes. So it is here to stay. We have to accept that. And we are now in a different age altogether. We are in the era of clicks and clips. Take a clip from here, take a click this, and so on. Literature is not really taught, it is downloaded. And students often say, why should we read the novel when the summary is there on YouTube, when the summary is there through ChatGPT? It's right. But then You can use all this for your research. You can use it for your research. There was a time when we used to go to the library and hunt up books. And then we used to, we used to go to different libraries, and sometimes the pages used to be torn. There was nothing available. We didn't even have photocopying. Huh? There was something called cyclostyling, which you would not know about. But we did not even have photocopying. So doing research at one time was very difficult, and now it is easy because you can use artificial intelligence. So count your blessings, make use of it, because there is no going back. I had mentioned digital humanities a little while ago. And what is digital humanities? It is an interdisciplinary field that combines traditional humanities disciplines of traditional humanities like literature, history, philosophy, with digital tools and methods. And this is what we need to be familiar with now. So technology is used not just to store or share text, but to analyze, visualize, and even reimagine them, right? So in digital humanities, we have digitization, we have analysis, and we have presentation, sharing of knowledge via different platforms. Okay. Now, there is something I wish to discuss with you. Some time back, we had invited a person who is an expert in artificial intelligence, in machine learning, and so on. We have these lectures, online lectures from time to time for this society, which I've been running since 1997. And actually, my name on my icon is, I don't know how I got connected through the Mello account, Mello account, but every fortnight we have a lecture, and one of the lectures that we had organized was on the use of artificial intelligence for humanities. And I want to discuss a few points that he made during the lecture, because that may come in handy for you. Perhaps you're already familiar with them, perhaps you're not. In case you're familiar, it will be kind of reinforcement. What he said was that you have to give the right, use ChatGPT. Use ChatGPT. You don't have to be embarrassed. You don't have to feel guilty. There was a time when calculators came in and everybody said, oh, now human memories will start decaying because you won't be able to memorize those tables, which we used to do, do, ekam, do, duni, char, and so on. You won't be able to do that, so your memory will rust. But that hasn't happened. We are using calculators and our memories are still there. And we are using our memories for something else. So he says, use ChatGPT, but give it the right kind of prompts. Give it the right kind of prompts, and that is when you will get the right answer. Okay? Use ChatGPT to get hints. Get hints from the machine, from artificial intelligence, but write your own. Okay? So I'm just repeating a few points that were made then, which I found very useful, and I feel that, there are almost 100 people logged in here, that you must be aware of these. And then he talked about generative artificial intelligence. You see, artificial intelligence is a broad field, which may be which may be divided into two. You must remember that I am a literature student. I am a literature person. I'm not a scientist or an artificial intelligence expert. I have picked up a few things on my own, which I'm sharing with you, right? I'm sharing with you so that you make use of them. So he says, under artificial intelligence, you have machine learning. That means learning from data. You learn from data to make predictions. And then you also have generative artificial intelligence. That means you generate new content from existing texts. And ChatGPT is a large language model. That means a model that is trained in language. A phrase that he used was very important. He says, trash in, trash out. If you feed trash into ChatGPT, you will get nothing but trash. So your prompts, the prompts that you give ChatGPT must be the right ones. Okay, so give the right prompts and you will get the right answers. Frame your questions right. Now, with the help of prompts, you can also generate videos. There's a lot you can do with ChatGPT. And let me share with you my last novel that came out. I wanted to do a cover for it. And I did not want to give it totally over to the publisher. So I thought, let me try ChatGPT. And I logged into ChatGPT. Please keep yourselves muted. Tanmoy, keep yourself muted, please. Yeah. I request you all to keep yourself muted because then it causes a disturbance. Host, please mute everybody else. I request the host to mute everybody else. Yeah, thank you. All right. Now, I wanted a certain cover, and so I told ChatGPT, I want hills, I want a narrow road, I want some cottages, I want a temple on top of a hill, and I want a goddess somewhere in the sky. You get the picture? And this is what ChatGPT gave me. Can you see it? Yeah. In the first attempt, it gave me a different kind of a picture. I said, no, I want cottages on both sides of the path, the winding path. So it gave me on both sides. I said, no, this is too dark. Make it a little lighter. And then it gave me a different face of the goddess. I said, no, I don't like this face. Please do it again. I want a gentler face. So that is, this is how you can use ChatGPT. And then I'm not claiming it as my own. It has to go, well, everyone is doing it. So you don't have to feel guilty about using ChatGPT. Use it in order to improve your own performance, in order to improve your writing. Yes, get the ideas from there and work on them. Now, there are lots of tools that exist in artificial intelligence. Some are paid and some are free. You can always use them. And a film can be converted into an animated content also. Some days back, in fact, the day we had that lecture, a couple of days prior to that, the newspapers were full of Ghibli. You remember Ghibli? Yeah. And everyone was trying Ghibli, and I was wondering, what is this Ghibli? And then I tried it, and it made a Ghibli picture for me, which I quickly deleted. I didn't like it. So that is what, that these things come and go. But by the time you realize what Ghibli is, something else will come in, right? Okay. Now, focusing on the prompts that you give artificial intelligence, there is something called prompt engineering, which is much in vogue now. Prompt engineering. And with prompt engineering, this is possible with free tools, and actually artificial intelligence can also help you create prompts. There is a lot of software that is available. For instance, Suno AI, S-U-N-O, Suno AI can give you music. You've written a song, you've written a poem, you want to put it to music. You go into Suno AI. And then on Microsoft Edge, you have the MS Copilot. The Copilot that is free and that will help you do a lot of things. You want to write a novel, there is a software called Sudowrite, S-U-D-O, Sudowrite, and it can help you write a novel. Okay. Then you want to create your own kind of chat GPT. There is something called Notebook Language Model. And in that, if you put 50 sources, varied sources, you can put books, you can put films, you can put music, you can put everything, and that will be something that you can use for your own purposes when you want to do something. Artificial intelligence can also prepare something that is called a mind map. A mind map, which is a visual representation of information, ideas, concepts created by AI tools. Okay, now what we were told is that all that AI concepts, all new techniques that we have through AI, they are disruptive. But the point is that anything new that comes up, whether it is in theory, whether it is in philosophy, or wherever, all that is disruptive in a certain way. For instance, when modernism came in, then everybody felt it was radical, it was very disturbing. The wasteland, T.S. Eliot's Wasteland, that was regarded as so depressing. It kind of broke the continuity of literature. And then when we had The Origin of the Species by Darwin, that was published, my God, people could not get over it at all. We had that Victorian pessimism and everybody sank into gloom because of the publication of that one book. So anything new that comes up is disruptive. And so is artificial intelligence disruptive. But then we must use it as an assistant, not as a master. And then we are all here. I mean, all the people out here, they are mature people, they are teachers, they are in a position to guide the younger generation. And this is the message you should pass on to your students and whoever is listening to you, that use it as an assistant. Don't let it control you completely. Because as you know, in artificial intelligence, in technology, there is this danger that technology can become your master and lead you to the wrong way. We heard some years ago, we heard of the blue whale. You remember the blue whale? So it can be used for evil purposes also. So you are in a position where you can guide others how to use artificial intelligence in a constructive manner. Now we have ChatGPT. We have ChatGPT, the free version and the paid version. We have 3.5, that is the free version, and the paid version is now 4.0. 4.0. So we have ChatGPT, the free version and the paid version. And the paid version is different from the free version, but I think for your purposes and mine and our purposes, the free version should be fine. But for deeper research, maybe you might go in for the paid version, right? Okay, now when we are, so let me just repeat one idea all over again, that AI can assist you, but it cannot replace you. It can fetch information, but it cannot teach you how to feel. A line from poetry, like music when soft voices die, vibrates in the memory. It cannot teach you how to feel that sentiment. Okay, moving on. When we talk about teaching humanities literature today, we know that we are constrained by government policies. Government policies. We know that we have something like NEP that we have to take into consideration while making our syllabus and so on. Now, we are not getting into a discussion of NEP. It has its pros, it has its cons, but policies may dictate the outcomes. After all, the outcome that is visualized is a positive one. How we are going about it, that may be problematic, but never mind. Now, we as teachers must ensure that our methods remain human. And our task is to mediate between machine efficiency and human empathy. Right? Okay. There are a few points that I want you to consider. The first is, can poetry, can literature help the world? Can it help the world? Now, Yeats has this poem in which there are some hysterical women who say that they're sick of poets who are forever gay because poetry doesn't really make anything happen. And if you're not careful, an aircraft will come and bomb us from the sky. The same idea was repeated by Auden. Poetry makes nothing happen. And then again, it was Auden who said, what am I? I'm just a poet. All I have is a voice. All I have is a voice to undo the folded lie, September 1, 1939. All I have is a voice to undo the folded lie. One is the lie that the politicians and leaders tell us, and the other is the lie that we tell ourselves. So we are persons of literature, and all we can do is, expose the lies, expose the untruths, expose what is wrong that is going on around us. We can't really do very much about it, even though they say that the pen is mightier than the sword. Perhaps that's why dictators are afraid of writers. We hear during the Nazi regime, a lot of artists, a lot of writers were victimized, they were executed. And just a few days back, I heard of Walter Kaufmann. Is the name familiar to you, Walter Kaufmann? Walter Kaufmann?
No.
No. I read it in one of the, somewhere browsing on the internet, that Walter Kaufmann was a musician who fled from Germany because of Hitler, and he came and made his home in Bombay. And in Bombay, he worked for the All India Radio, and he is the one who created that tune, that Akashvani tune, which is played early in the morning at 5:53 in the morning. Tanana, tanana, and it goes on till 6 o'clock till the program begins. So he's the one who made it. He had to run away from Germany because Hitler was targeting all these musicians and all these artists. So we have some hidden strength in us, which we must realize, okay? All right. Now, what we deal in are stories that convey ideas. And these stories are passed down from one generation to another in different ways. For instance, orally. For instance, through the written word. For instance, through cloud computing and also artificial intelligence. So we can use all this technology for disseminating our ideas, for taking our ideas from one generation to another. And so poetry can also be passed on from one person, from one generation to the next. If at one time we used poetry for a particular purpose, what did we use poetry for? On one occasion when I read out those lines from W.B. Yeats, he wishes for the cloths of heaven, but I, being poor, have only my dreams. I have spread my dreams under your feet. Tread softly because you tread on my dreams. After the class, there was this young boy who came up to me and he says, ma'am, please give me this quotation because I want to use it. So he took the quotation and probably he must have written a little note for his lady love or something like that. So what did we use poetry for? At one time we used it in order to express our emotions, yes, but also to, as Yeats said, there is this poem by W.B. Yeats called Adam's Curse. Adam's Curse. I don't know if you're familiar with it because it's not anthologized too much, Adam's Curse. And I'm going to read out a portion to you. He's talking about himself, Modgon, and Modgon's sister. The three of them are sitting one late evening watching the moon rise, and it's a full moon. So that's the kind of atmosphere. It's a very kind of romantic, poetic atmosphere, but there is that hesitation. There is that, that discomfort in the mind of the poet, because Modgon is there and Modgon is not really responding to his love. So there is that tension in the air. Listen to the poem, Adam's Curse. We sat together at one summer's end, that beautiful, mild woman, your close friend. Actually, it was Modgon's sister. That beautiful, mild woman, your close friend, and you and I, and talked of poetry. And I said, now these lines are these lines are really memorable, and you can make use of them anytime because it gives you the importance of poetry. And I said, a line will take us hours maybe, yet if it does not seem a moment's thought, all our stitching and unstitching has been naught. Better go down upon your marrow bones and scrub a kitchen pavement or break stones like an old pauper in all kinds of weather. For to articulate sweet sounds together, is to work harder than all these and yet be thought an idler by the noisy set of bankers, schoolmasters, and clergymen the martyrs call the world. Writing poetry is not easy. To articulate sweet sounds together is actually to work harder than the laborer by the wayside. And yet you are thought of as an idler by the noisy set of bankers, schoolmasters, and clergymen the martyrs call the world. So writing poetry is actually something very difficult, and yet people scoff at it. And then there is this beautiful woman who replies. She says, to be born a woman is to know, although they do not talk of it at school, that we must labor to be beautiful. And I said, Yeats says, it's certain there's no fine thing since Adam's fall, but needs much laboring. There have been lovers, listen to this, there have been lovers who thought love should be so much compounded of high courtesy that they would sigh and quote with learned looks precedent out of beautiful old books. Yet now it seems an idle trade enough. That there were lovers who, in order to win their beloved over, they would bring some poem and read it out to them. But now it seems to be a waste of time. It seems, well, not worth it. All right. So what did we use poetry for at one time? We used it maybe for embellishing what we wanted to say. We would learn it by rote. We would emote it. Now, AI can help you write poetry, but that poetry will not be yours. It will be taken from the essence of all the poetry that is available in cyberspace. You can hear it, you can learn from it, and then you can write your own. So you can do that. Now, there are some dangers that we, teachers of liberal arts and humanities, face today. What are those dangers? You're aware of them. In the first place, it's a market-driven world today. Everything is very commercial. It's a market-driven world today. And humanities, liberal arts, language, literature speaks to the soul. You cannot measure the soul in terms of cash. Can you? You can't. So this is one danger. The other danger is interdisciplinarity, too much of interdisciplinarity. And so literature gets diluted and the purity of literary studies is lost. Why? Because we are compelled to put in everything, which in a way it is good. It has its own pros, but then this is what is happening. A third danger that literature teachers, literary studies, cultural studies faces now is the focus on data collection. And I can almost hear all of you groaning with all the data you've been collecting for your institutions. You have to collect this data and that data and geotag and this and that and photographs and so on. All that seems to be more important than teaching literature and enjoying it. There's more of a focus on exams than on teaching. You must have mid-semester, end semester, 2 house tests. I mean, 8 times in a semester, if you're doing tests, when are you teaching? When are you learning? When are you actually reading literature? You're more focused on texts. You're more focused on giving them assignments. But how can you give them assignments if you're not, if you can't relax in a class and tell them of all the nuances of a poem that you have read? Of T.S. Eliot's The Many Concerns of T.S. Eliot. Where do you have the time for all that if you're busy testing them? So there is a lot of lopsidedness in the system today, but then you have to cope with it. Okay. So tests seem to be more important than instructions. And then there is another danger that we've been facing, and that is, what I call the spit and polish technique. That means you have placements, and for the sake of placements, you just spit and polish your students and make them presentable, whether or not they have something within them. That's what's happening. So rather than the total overhaul, the total education of a student, we are looking at short-term measures, not at the deep impact of what education will have on a student. Well, this is happening everywhere, and you and I are small fries. We cannot change the system, but at least we can be aware of what is happening. And once we are aware of what is happening, we can work within the given parameters. Then another danger, I say it's a danger, it's a hazard that we are facing, is publications. And we all have problems. Where do you publish? We have been publishing earlier, but no, that's not good enough. You have to publish in Scopus journals, you have to publish in Web of Science, you have to publish in high impact factors. But the point is, in literature, where do you have these journals which fit the bill? You don't have them. So what do? You are told, don't publish in your subject, publish in somebody else's subject. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. So never mind if you don't have journals in English or in literature, you publish in health science. Does it make sense to you? Well, it makes sense to somebody. But you know what Einstein said? A fish cannot be judged on the basis of its ability to climb a tree. One size does not fit all. Something that is suitable for sciences, for management, for technology, and other subjects doesn't have to be appropriate for literature and cultural studies. You have to be aware of what is happening, and you have to work within those parameters. Then there are other things also, like competitive exams that our students appear for, competitive exams. You have those MCQ types, you have the net exam, and some of the students who clear those net exam, my God, you feel like committing suicide when you see them. But then they have ticked the right marks. They made the right kind of ticks and they get in, even if they don't know the ABC of the subject for which they're being appointed. Well, what do you do? So there are problems. There are lots of things we cannot do. We cannot turn back the clock, but we can learn how to survive within the given parameters, right? Now, a few things that I've already talked about, the pros and cons of using artificial intelligence for literature and cultural studies. Well, we've already discussed them. So give the right kind of prompts. Okay. Now, some practical steps that I want to discuss with you. That yes, we have all these problems. How do we go ahead? What do we do? The first thing is that you have to be aware. The awareness is the most important. You have to be aware, okay, this is a problem that we are facing. And if you have this realization, then there will be some resolution also. So you're aware of the problems, and then accordingly, you will see what can be done. Secondly, you will take initiatives. You will take initiatives. What kind of initiatives? Your field is dying out. People are not interested in literature, in cultural studies and humanities. What do? So you create initiatives. For instance, you have reading clubs. You bring like-minded people together. You have discussions. You have book readings. You have competitions in your field. You have to do something like that. You can have these activities in the physical form. You can also have them online. You can also have them in the written mode. And I must tell you, the other day I got a message from Zoom that we have used the Zoom platform for 100 meetings. Now, I think that is something that we can legitimately be proud of. And that is the society that I've been running since 1997. So we started using Zoom only, after COVID times. And earlier it was the institutional Zoom that I was using. But since last year, I'm not working anywhere. And I got this message from Zoom. Congratulations, you have done 100 meetings on Zoom. Now, all these meetings are a way of bringing like-minded people together and keeping that spark alive, keeping the love of literature alive, passing on the light from, one generation to another, right? And it's also a form of mentoring, grooming, molding sensibilities, molding the younger generation, getting them interested in literature, organizing seminars, organizing conferences. For instance, I'm sure you remember the first time that you made a presentation at a conference or a seminar. Do you remember? Come on, I want to see some reactions. Do you remember the first time you made some presentation at a seminar or conference? That was the beginning. Somebody encouraged you. And from there, you've reached here. So it's your payback time. You need to do that for your students now, right? Okay. And so you need to fall into a mentoring, a grooming role, molding younger people. You can have conferences, you can have poetry recitations, you can turn the attention back to literature instead of, getting puzzled. What are we going to do? Artificial intelligence is taking over. Why? Use artificial intelligence to come back to literature. And then spread your network wide. Spread your network wide. You spread your network wide, and it will always have positive effects. Because we are living in a world which is torn by strife and violence. And literature can be used as a bridge, bringing people together, promoting goodwill, promoting humanity, promoting human interaction, fellow feeling, support. So all this would be a step, a collective endeavor towards a better world. And for a better world, we need poetry, we need literature, we don't need machines. Or if at all we have to do with machine, we use machines to spread literature, to spread poetry, to spread the ideas that bring positivity into the world, right? And I am going to conclude on this note. Just 1 minute, there's something I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you something, but it seems to have got lost. You know, there is, anyway, maybe you can watch it on your own. So, can you switch on your videos now that we are almost done? So if you're not feeling shy, I'm sure you can switch on your videos, and I'm sure you have nice, pretty, handsome faces. All right, so I am concluding on this note saying that we can use literature, even if it is with the help of machines. We can use literature to promote goodwill, to promote positivity in the world. And I wanted to show you this clip, but I don't know, I thought I had saved it on my desktop, but I can't locate it. Otherwise, also, if I'd located it, we would have run into a problem because there are copyright issues. There is this song by John Lennon, and that is called Imagine. Imagine. So he's talking about, he's imagining a world in which there is no war, there is no bloodshed. And towards the end, he says, I guess you think I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And hopefully, one day, everybody will think the same way. So even though today we have Ukraine, we have Gaza Strip, we have Russia, we have Iran fighting against each other, killing each other. We have the BrahMos, which 14 or 15 other countries want to buy from India, whatever for, we know what they want to buy it for. Well, maybe if we have this movement, maybe if we encourage literature, poetry, we might be heading towards a better world. I may be a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Thank you very much for listening to me all this while.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Please
Thank you, ma'am.
your video.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very nice presentation, ma'am. Very enlightening.
There are some points that have come into the chat. All right, let me see.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Highlight your ideas about the importance and challenges of AI in literary research. I think I've already covered it, huh? But you need to, because what happens is that when you use AI, then AI generated stuff can also be detected. Huh? So your reputation is at stake. And as I told you, for this society that I've been heading since 1997, we organize conferences every year. And this year, we got about 250 abstracts. And out of them, 50% were artificial intelligence generated. So I had to, tell them that I'm sorry, the AI content in your abstract is very high. Please bring it down and rewrite it. Huh? So, your reputation is also at stake. So if you're writing something like, if I want to write a novel, if I want to write another novel, and you make use of pseudo-write, and tomorrow if my student, Ashma Thakur or somebody says, oh, ma'am has written, it's not ma'am's work, it is artificial intelligence. Oh, my reputation of 50 years will go down the drain. So I would not do it, and I'm sure you would also not do it. Make use of artificial intelligence, but use it ethically. Let the ideas be your own. Take help from here and there, just as you take help from calculators. You are asked to calculate something, and the calculator does it. That doesn't mean that you are being right. And then let me see. Adam, after COVID-19 and the implementation of NEP, I have seen literature students living in villages suffering. For example, students have neither the arrangement to take online classes nor the mechanism to expand the educational chain on the lines of NEP. I'm saying this because in the college where I am, there are a total of 6 teachers among them, neither any teacher who teaches skill development or any other subject. Oh, yes, I know. These are problems that we all face. And I was a NAC assessor for 10 years, and I went to all these little villages and small places inspecting colleges and other institutions. And I know exactly what you're talking about. But, well, These are problems that we have to live with. And if institutions in these small places cannot implement NEP, then there are other ways of seeing that your students are well groomed and they learn techniques that will help them survive in a world that is advancing very rapidly. For instance, we have the phone, for instance, the cell phone that gives us so much of knowledge. We are using the cell phone as a camera, we are using the cell phone as a computer, and we are using it for so many other purposes also. So the best use can be made of that. Instead of just looking at video clips and making reels, I'm sure you can make it for the dissemination of ideas and knowledge also. And yeah, let me see what else. There's this book called The World is Flat. The World is Flat. And it came out in the 80s or 90s. Huh? It came out a long time ago. And in that, Friedman says that the world is flat because we have the internet. We can download, upload, and we can share knowledge. So it's like a flat world. It's a flat playing field that anyone can get onto it and play if they know the rules. So they have to know the rules, and opportunities are there. You just have to look for them. We hear of so many inspiring stories of young boys and girls coming up from villages and finding their way into the big world and making a name for themselves. So something or the other like that has to be done. Somebody is asking for a link to our website. Which website do you want the link for? The society? The society is called the MELOW, MELOW. We have a blog, we have a Facebook, we also have a website, MEL, single LOW. Huh? And we do a lot of work. We've been doing it since 1997, and we'll be holding our 26th international conference in Dharamshala in September. So if you just log into mellow.in, you will get there, or the blog or the Facebook. Our Facebook is very active. We have about 2,000 members. Huh? Okay. Aniket. Ma'am, among all the humanities subjects, English has shown the greatest propensity for using theories, but often these theories are used to make the subject more heavy, not keeping any link with literature itself. How do you see this being countered? Aniket, I presume you are a teacher, and as a teacher, you can make use of theory, just as now we make use of artificial intelligence. We make use of theory, but don't lose sight of literature. Because the problem with a lot of theory freaks, theory specialists, is that literature unhone padha hi nahi, unko aata hi nahi. So remember that it is from literature that theories should emanate. It shouldn't be the other way around. You mentioned a poem at the beginning about the destructive nature of the sea. Could you share the name of the poem? It's not the destructive nature of the sea, it is about the seductive nature of the sea. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to guide her by. This is Sea Fever by John Masefield, Masefield. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Okay, so anything else that you would like to say or you would like to chat? I have enjoyed talking to you, and it's really been nice, even though you haven't really talked. Can you for anything purple? Semester cram semester cram, deadline driven higher education system. Students nowadays are in a state of rush, due to paucity of time or excessive vocationalization of yes, you are absolutely right, Ishan. Neither students are interested to touch the soul of literature. Yes, I know. What is the remedy? What is the remedy? I really don't know. And you see, we taught in times that were good, and we enjoyed teaching, and we got the time to relax into life also, because you see, your job is a job, but then it should not keep you away from life as such. So we taught in times when there wasn't this stress, with the constant stress that you all are facing now of data collection and being turned into babus. So you are turned from flights of fancy, you come down to dirty donkey work. Well, if education has become like that, you have to see how you can negotiate that. You just have to do something about it, but I don't know what, because even very senior people, when I talk to them, they all agree with what I say. They all agree with what I say, and they say, yes, these parameters are illogical, and you have institutions which are not really good, they're getting A plus, and whereas established institutions are, they all agree, but then nobody seems to be able to do anything. Nikhila, we have activities like I recite as part of the curriculum, where students write and recite their own. That's very good. That's very good. Then in the world of AI, there is need for emotional intelligence through literature. Very good. Yes, there is. Okay. So, well, that is it, I think.
Ma'am.
If there is.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you very much for this beautiful presentation, ma'am. Ma'am, my name is Bishal Thapa and I am an English teacher. I just wanted to ask you something, ma'am. Ma'am, literature is supposed to inform and inspire, and literature is supposed to be very, very subjective, ma'am. But in the course of time, me as a student and me as a teacher, I have often observed that these critical theories, ma'am, it is turning literature, especially English literature, into a sort of science, ma'am. So, ma'am, what is your opinion? I mean, this might sound to be a very contentious question, ma'am, but would you agree with transforming literature into an objective scientific subject which tries to prove something, or should literature be what it is, ma'am, subjective, emotive? Ma'am, kindly please let us know your opinion on this, ma'am.
Yeah, just 1 minute. I found something that is relevant and I want to share it with you. Yes, I agree with you that that literature has changed as such. It's no longer literature. It's no longer concerned with the higher things of life, like Sufi poetry, or like, the verses written by evolved souls, or even, if not poetry, then even, prose, the novels or plays written by people who make you feel, elevated. So you feel that is getting lost because students don't read, they don't have the time to read, and literature itself has become mechanical, and life has become mechanical. And not only that, it is the other professions which earn more money. So why should they go into teaching of literature and so on? I agree with you, all that. Yes, I do agree. But then there is something that will bring hope to the world when everything else fails. And what is that? The yoga teacher will tell you it is yoga, and I would absolutely agree with him, because yoga is something that lifts you up from the mundaneness and from the sordid state of affairs. It makes you go inward, it makes you go upward, and it makes you concentrate on, on the positive elements of the world. Yes, it can certainly elevate you, but even literature can help you overcome all the hardships that one faces in life. Then what should you do in practical terms? Well, I just mentioned a few things that you could do, and you will feel, but how can we do it? Well, in 1997, when we started the society Mellow, I had the same thought, and I said, "Medse nahi hoga." It wasn't in 1997. It was actually, the first idea came to me in 1991 when I was at Harvard on a Fulbright. And then somebody said, why don't you form a society like this in India? And well, I was very young then and I didn't have the confidence. I said, "Medse nahi hoga." But then after some years, after I'd attended a few seminars and conferences and seeing how things go, Then I felt I was ready for it. And in 1997, we started it, but tentatively. They said have membership for, and we said we'll have membership for 1 year. But I said, no, let us see if it lasts for more than a year. Then we'll have it for more than 1 year. So I said, no, let's see if it lasts for at least for a year. So, but then it lasted, and then we had life memberships, and then the life memberships became so long that we decided no more life memberships. Now we'll give only 10 years. But then the 10-year memberships also, became so many, and it wasn't working out. We weren't breaking even, so we made it 5 years, and now we have 2 years. We have 2 years and 5 years now. So it's like this. You might think that you cannot do it, but you'll be able to do it. And there are these 2 lines which you must remember. मैं अकेला ही चला था, मैं अकेला ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल, मगर लोग साथ आते गए और कारवां बनता गया. You start alone. But once you start, once you take the first step forward, people will join you because they are all waiting for someone to take the first step. This is what I have seen. And when you start moving, it becomes a karma. It becomes a karma, and you all move together. And if you're moving together, you can change the world. If you can't change the world, then as T.S. Eliot said, should I then set my lands in order? Set your lands in order. And if all of us can do that, we'll be much happier people. Anything else? Dhritiman, you have said something.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dhritiman, I thought theory is something with and through which we think the applicational part you mentioned is something that theory has been fighting for to stop such instrumentalization. I'm yet to come across any criticism which has appreciated literature more than what Derrida did in Spectre of Marx to reread Hamlet. And there are plenty of examples as such. The elephant in the room is this instrumental approach which you rightly critiqued. Yeah, Dhritiman, it's like this. We are all students of literature and humanities, and we all have different approaches. We have different ideas. Now, your ideas are not wrong. Mine are not applicable to everyone, but at some points they converge. And if they converge, and if we can work together, well, that is what life is. That in spite of our differences, we carry on. And you may be a theory person, I may be a poetry person, and Shilja may be a management person or something else. So we all, well, this is diversity, and together we continue, right?
Sure, ma'am.
What is your subject, Dhritiman?
English, ma'am. English literature, yeah.
Well, what is your specialization?
Well, I did my PhD on social science mostly,
Okay.
but there I also use literature. It was interdisciplinary.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, any other question? Any other observation?
Since there are no further questions, let me formally conclude the session by proposing the vote of thanks. Respected Professor Manju Jaidka, coordinators of MMTC NPU, and dear fellow participants. It was indeed a highly engaging and inspiring session. Ma'am has taken us through the winding history of poetry, right from the lines of Sylvia Plath, with which she has started her lecture, through Keats, Yeats, Eliot, Auden, Dylan, Thomas, and Ted Hughes. Then she also talked about the various approaches to poetry, the various theories, and how the phase has changed from theory to that of a digital phase, and how literature was sidelined. How the teaching of literature has changed from chalkboards to keyboards, and how to exploit AI and other digital techniques to make teaching literature effective. She has given us an entire graph of the history of literary studies. Your words will reverberate in our minds for long, ma'am. Thank you for that enriching session. Thank you, coordinators, and thank you.
One last point. I started teaching in 1974, on the 16th of September, 1974. It is 50 years and 1 year. Last year, After completing half a century, I hung up my boots. I said, enough is enough. But, well, a teacher remains a teacher, I guess. So you've seen the rise and fall of, different generations. And I have enjoyed it thoroughly, even though the scenario has changed. So the same way, I would be very happy if you all can enjoy your careers too. And then, yes,
Thank
I
you,
would
ma'am.
love it if some of you would keep in touch with me, read some of my books. We brought out the Routledge Encyclopedia last year, and this year, the Springer Encyclopedia. So I have certain projects going on, and I'm trying for more projects. So I would love it if some of you are in touch with me or with our Society Mellow. We keep having something. And please find time to read some of my books. This is the latest one. The Legend of Sanjigiri. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, my dear boys and girls.
Thank
Great.
you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you
ma'am.
so
Thank
much,
you.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Now we have exam 2:30.
Yeah.
The exam will be from 2:30, yes.
2:30, right? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So,